how is it possible
Yes.
for the composer who has the greatest command of structure of all of them to nevertheless create the feeling that much of his music is improvisational at the same time?
Ah, yes.
How is that possible?
Don't know. Don't know. Isn't it unbelievable? And who can? Only a few would qualify. To qualify two, yes?
Four.
Four. Yeah. Only a few will qualify for what you just said. But it's amazing, isn't it? You find it in Bach.
You sure do.
For sure. Absolutely. Find it in Mozart and Beethoven. And it doesn't cease to amaze me. It is a kind of a mysterious energy, right, of creation.
Yes.
That on the highest level of existence, of which the person, the medium itself, is not aware of. But that's what genius is. It's that unfathomable burst of energy, right, that produces this, that is eternal. That's the best you can say, right?
Are there any musical experiences from which you feel you've learned things or have opened up new perspectives on what making music is all about?
There are many, and it's like a kaleidoscope, you know, from Richter to Furtwängler, from negative to positive, you know. Sometimes a negative impression is very important too. You know that this is really not, maybe it's a famous conductor, famous pianist, famous, I don't know, performer, but look, with all the equipment, with all the possibility of doing something, why do people do that? And that's also sometimes, in a way, very helpful.
Again, you echo Nathan Milstein, who says he learned much more from both the virtues and the vices of the pupils in Auer's class than he learned from Auer himself.
Absolutely. But then, of course, there are some fantastic exceptions when you feel that the person who was making music was totally a part of music making process, and that you learn from that, and that stays in you forever. And of course, Richter was one of those people. There's no question about it. You could see that there's identification, even when you didn't agree with what he was doing. You knew that his whole reason for living, purpose of life, was to try to communicate to you something extremely important, the way he understood it. And there was no question of him being self-important or self-righteous or anything like that. He was simply a medium to project to you what he feels was right to project. Identification with what he was doing, that taught me a lot. There are very few performers of that kind, performers. Some of them, of course, there are, and I learn from them all the time. There are few.
It was one of the main themes of the Vital Juices film, that your ideal was to try to be the medium rather than the interpreter.
Absolutely, but of course you can't help being an interpreter because you're a human being who has his own mental world, emotional world, and you interpret in the end. But it's not the purpose. You can't escape it because you are what you are. But my reason of being a musician is try to bring what I think composer wanted to bring, and not me.
I find it heartening that this fundamental conviction, which is basically a modest one, remains unchanged.
Absolutely,
over
always.
50 years.
Yes, but who knows what's right? Who knows what the composers wanted? So I make mistakes, I go in the wrong way.
This is classic Ashkenazy, being reserved and questioning. That's the word. Ashkenazy being questioning. Even when you have your most powerful convictions, you question them.
Of course, then maybe that helps. But it shouldn't produce insecurity, that's the only thing. But there is a danger, of course.
Vladimir Davidovich, as you enter your 8th decade, I can't believe it, I think we're still both 33 years old.
Of course we are.
But as you enter this 8th decade, what do you still want to do? Where do you still want to go?
But you know, I never had plans in my life, so why should I have plans now? I'm looking forward to making more music, try to expand, improve in certain areas, but that's all. I never had any practical plans in my life. I never will have.
Carpe diem.
What is it?
Carpe diem. Seize the day. And thank God we've got today. Your todays have been pretty damn good for the last 50 years.
Yes.
So.
And somebody else said that the prediction is the property of children and fools. Yeah, that's it.
You once quoted J.W. Sullivan as expressed in his study of Beethoven.
Yes.
The most valuable states of consciousness that music arouses are those that spring from the richest and deepest spiritual context. We are immediately aware, with great compositions of this kind, that the state of consciousness expressed by the composer is the result of certain perceptions and experiences.
Yeah.
So far as we can recognize the emotion communicated to us, we can say something of the conditions, as it were, of the conditions it, as it were, presupposes. Such states are the fruits of countless experiences as realized and coordinated by the artist, and they enter into the very texture of his spiritual being. This, says Vladimir Ashkenazy, is the most convincing formulation of what music means to me. Has that changed?
No, I wish I could be as intelligent and perceptive as Mr. Sullivan, but I will go by this, absolutely.
Владимир Давидович, спасибо большое. Спокойной ночи.
Can't do better.